What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Movies That Make You podcast, where movies are more than just entertainment. They're a catalyst for meaningful conversation. I'm Jonathan Sprang, and I go by Sprang, and most weeks we dive into movies to watch in preparation for a new release hitting theaters. This week, we've got the creators of ZombieCON coming back to the show to talk about their top 5 zombie movies of all time. POPpaGoss and I share our top 5s. Erin and Kyle share their top 5s, and then we actually build the collaborative top 5 list that ends up being epic. All of this in preparation for 28 years later, The Bone Temple, that drops Friday. We hope you'll go check out our website. It's bio.site/movies that make you. There you'll find all of our links to all of our social media channels on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can also check out our letterbox, which shows you all of our lists on the movies that make you laugh, the movies that make you cry, the movies that make you scream, and everything in between. Before we dive into this week's episode, though, let's take a look at the next few weeks on the Movies That Make You podcast. Next week, we've got the Silent Hill movies we're going to be talking about in preparation for Return to Silent Hill, dropping in theaters that Friday. POPpaGoss and I have a special guest, first timer on the show, Matt from Spokioki. So we're excited to have him on the show to talk about these crazy films. The week after that, POPpaGoss and I welcome Sidekick Inc. to discuss Sam Raimi movies, all in preparation for Send Help, dropping in theaters that Friday. We're going to talk through all of his highlights and his lowlights and enjoy the conversation around this incredible director. Hope those episodes excite you. So without further ado, let's get to the podcast. We are back with another episode of the Movies That Make You podcast. I am here and I'm joined by our regular co-host now in 2026, Mr. POPpaGoss. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, buddy.
Awesome. And we are excited to welcome back our good friends, Kyle and Erin from ZombieCON Volume 1. Welcome back to the podcast, guys.
Hell
Hey
yeah.
guys, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us. And our daughter, Anya, is joining as well.
Absolutely.
We love it. We love
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
Youngest zombie fan here.
Yes. We had so much fun talking with you guys about your movie and your film, and we've had such a great time interacting with you guys on social media. And so I just thank you again for saying, like, coming back and just having another conversation completely separate. I'm sure ZombieCon's going to come up, but
yeah.
it's excited we're talking about zombies today. This Friday, we've got 28 years later, Bone Temple, it's dropping on Friday. And so, to celebrate that and to prep for that, we are talking about our top 5 zombie films. So all 4 of us are going to come with our 5 lists, and we're going to see how it all pans out in the end. But before we do that, we just like to play a little catch up. So how have things been going for you guys since the release of the film and all of the buzz that we've been seeing all over?
It has been just awesome. I mean, to say that we both feel like overwhelmed and grateful would be an understatement. You know, we worked on this film for 10 years almost, and even just it getting released was already insanely exciting. The first reviews coming in were insanely exciting, but now the amount of support and excitement that we've received from like all corners of the internet, but especially the indie film and the horror communities have just been awesome. We're floored.
Yeah, copy that. A little exhausted, partially promotion, partially baby and house stuff. I've never done so much laundry, and folding baby clothes is... Yeah. I've got giant hands, so folding little tiny baby clothes is like, I feel like I need little tweezers and a magnifying glass, but I'm learning.
Nice.
It was the greatest compliment ever when he was like, I'm starting to confuse your clothes with Anya's clothes because I don't know if she's getting bigger or you're getting smaller. And I was like, I will take that.
That's amazing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, POPpaGoss, how have you been this week?
I have been very good. Mainly just kind of winding down from Tulsa Horror Con. Spring and I went to Tulsa Horror Con, and Kristen as well. And we met up, and some of our friends' channels, content creators, mostly horror themed channels, were all there. So we got some people I got to meet. I've talked to them all the time, but I never had met them in person. So got to meet in person for the first time. It was cool to just, talk to people who like actually watch your content and, are genuinely like interested in what you do. And we, networked. We got a few people who were going to come on for some lives. We got some people in the works for interviews for 2026, which is super exciting. But yeah, it's really just, it's the horror community in general is just so nice and so wonderful. And like, you hear it from celebrities, you hear it from other people, like it's just the best. And Comic Cons and other conventions are the same, but there's just something about the horror community, especially when you're at a smaller one. Like the Oklahoma ones are big, but they're not like Texas Frightmare big. They're smaller, so you're able to get more one-on-one time with everybody and actually get good conversations going at the cons, and especially for like the channel networking and stuff. It's really nice. So we had a great time, and then I've just been kind of playing catch up on my personal channel on YouTube. I just crossed 1,000 subscribers last week, and been about working at it for about 2 years. But I'd say the last like 6 months is when I have finally figured out the algorithm and stuff. So I've been working really hard on my shorts and my long form, and just making sure that I can pick up on what you're supposed to do. And I think it's really helped. So I've had a couple of shorts that just like took off and gained me a huge following. So just working on that. I'm already almost to 1,100 subs already after crossing 1,000. So just going to go up from here, hopefully. And I'm really excited, but also very excited to have both of you on as well again, because we love chatting with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, similar for me. Had a really good time at Tulsa, networking, and we wore the. Thanks again, Aaron, for sporting the Movies That Make You podcast T-shirt. That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if you
And the
noticed
POPpaGoss
and
beanie.
yeah, and the beanie. Yeah, we wore some merch on while we were at the con, and had a lot of good conversations just spark from having the T-shirt on, and people asking, "Hey, what's this?
Yeah.
What's this?" And so that really kind of got me jazzed. Like within the first few minutes being there, really like taking every conversation to saying like, "Hey, how can we support each other?" How these vendors are like, "Well, you all do movies, so we could have you on and just talk about how movies have influenced your creativity and all that stuff." And so it was really kind of all of my creative juices just started going on like on blitz. And so had a lot of fun doing that, and then just kind of dreaming up what this new year is going to be like. And so very excited to get going. But
Yeah,
very cool.
we had a few celebrities that kept asking us about our ZombieCon shirts. They're like, what is that? And we're like, oh, this is an awesome movie you probably have never heard of, but it's awesome. And we told them about it, and they were like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Brett Wagner, who was Leatherface in the Jessica Biel Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So good.
Super nice guy. He comes to Oklahoma a lot, but yeah, he was asking about the movie, and Tyler Maine asked me about it, Michael Myers, and yeah, so it was pretty cool. So we were showing off your film to some cool people.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it's funny to hear that Leatherface is I mean, obviously, actors aren't really wearing people's skin on their face and running around with a chainsaw, but it's still pretty funny. Leatherface, such a nice guy,
Brett, we kept running into him. Like, his table is not usually super busy. Like, he's the nicest guy though, but he kept interacting with Spring and Kristen, and then like we would go out in the lobby of the hotel, and he was like playing with people's dogs, and like he's just so. And then my son, I took that photo. My son he was like, he told my son to come sit next to him at his table, and my son was playing with like his fake mallet that he carries around with him, and he's just super nice. But yeah, he's not everything, that he's a big guy, obviously, but he's not like scary in person. He's pretty cool. So
that's kind of the biggest takeaway that Kristen has had. I mean, this is the first year we've done any cons, and we did 4, right? And it was just like, as soon as we did Frightmare, she was really like, oh, this is a lot of fun. But that's the main reason. It's because these actors are not scary. The actors are just humans that we get to interact with. We get to hear their stories, and it's like she can connect with them as an actor and an actress. And then she's like, oh, let's go watch their movie, because she hadn't seen some of these movies. So we got home Sunday night, and she's like, I want to watch the Rob Zombie Halloween. So we sat down and watched it, and we saw 6 people that we had just talked to, on the screen. So it was just a really fun thing for her. And she's just talked to her family all day yesterday about like how much fun she's enjoyed going to the horror cons. And that's the main thing, right? Like just getting to know these people, seeing these people as real people and not as like these big scary things
Yeah,
out there. So
for sure.
That's
very
awesome.
cool. Well, how about we jump into it? We got a lot of movie to talk about. I don't think we need to deep dive on every single one, right? It's just kind of like, let's kind
Yeah.
of hear each other's list and see what kind of comes out of the conversation. But how about Erin? How about we start with you? What's your number 5?
Okay, so number 5, and there's a bit of a theme here. I promise I'm not coming in with self-promotion because I have acted in a couple different zombie films, but they're my favorite because I have the most personal experience with
Yeah,
them.
for
Number
sure.
5, I'm saying Dance of the Dead. Not sure if you guys are familiar with it. It's like a 2008 indie comedy. It premiered at South by Southwest. It was directed by Greg Bishop, written by Joe Ballerini. These two guys were right out of USC. They came down to Georgia. They cast all local kids in the Atlanta acting scene. None of us had big careers yet. I played a bit part. It got cut down more, but it was bigger at the time. And it was so much fun. It's a horror comedy. It takes place in a tiny town in Georgia on prom night. We're following kind of a loser, and he couldn't get a date to prom, so he's delivering pizzas. And he and his friends basically find themselves in a zombie apocalypse, and they realize that everyone at prom doesn't know, and they got to go rescue them and, basically go save all the cool kids and everyone who wasn't paying attention to them. But it's kind of a mixture of nerds and the cool girl get wrapped up, and it's their first time using weapons and all this. It's got comedy and heart. It's fun. And I had a great time on set. So definitely Dance of the Dead is my number 5.
Awesome. I think I actually popped up on one of the lists when I was looking up just to get a zombie list, and that one was there, and I was like, I hadn't heard of that one, so now that I have, and I know you're involved, it's definitely going on my list.
Yeah, and it looks like it has a bunch of like the poster is pretty cool because it looks like it played at all the big film fests, so South by Southwest, Fantasia, Scream Fest, Fright Fest, and then some of these they have 2 giant reviews. One from Ain't It Cool News, has cult classic written all over it, and then Bloody Disgusting actually said makes Carrie look like Pretty in Pink. I like that one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was really well reviewed even at the time. I can't believe. I
Nice.
mean, I know it does have a cult following, but I can't believe it didn't get bigger. I would love on a future podcast if y'all get a chance to watch it afterward to hear your thoughts.
Actually,
Yeah,
wasn't
for
it
sure.
like 10 years later, we got to go see.
yeah.
We got to go to the 10-year anniversary screening or something at the Chinese Grauman with Greg Bishop.
Oh,
I
that
think
is
Joe
awesome.
Ballerini was there, and yeah, it's while we were living out in LA, and it was just a really cool event. Yeah, I mean, Greg, the director, is a really, really great guy, great director, and just like a nice person too.
Yeah.
Someone you can have like a really fun conversation with about, art, directing, movies, just all the stuff.
And he's gone on to do one of the VHS segments. I
Oh.
forget which one, and a couple other like Sirens that came out a couple years back. So he's gone on to do some horror. And in Dance of the Dead, Lucas Till was one of the main actors who he's gone on to have
Wow.
a
Oh,
pretty
he was
big
there
career.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it looks like he went on to work as a visual editor for Marvel. He's worked on Shang-Chi, Loki, the TV series, Thor: Love and Thunder, and Miss Marvel, the TV series. So he's done visual editing for a couple things for Marvel, which is pretty huge. So
That's
But
awesome.
yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
Very
we'll
cool.
definitely check that one out.
Yeah.
Mine's a tiny bit part. I don't think it's like a blink and a miss. You'll see me a couple different scenes. I was supposed to have this giant, bloodbath type scene. They made a prosthetic of my neck because I was going to
Wow.
get into a fight with a chemistry teacher and he's going to rip my larynx out. This whole thing, as filmmaking goes, things need to be shuffled around with the writing. And my group of characters took a back seat, but I had such a blast on that. I literally was working nights and came back to school one of the mornings. And I had fake blood still on my neck. I didn't realize. And one of my friends was like, "Oh my God, are you
You're
okay? We need to
bleeding.
get you to the hospital. Like, you're bleeding."
Yeah.
I
So,
think
That's
you just popped up because on IMDb they play the trailer next to I think you popped up in the beginning of the trailer.
yes.
Nice.
Yep.
When it's
Yeah, I just saw you in the thing.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I'm sure something like that, like being on set like that, gives you an opportunity to kind of see how that stuff rolls out, and it's definitely influenced you later, right? But it's like a great experience. Even if you got cut out of the movie some, you still got that experience that's feeding into your, your knowledge. So
But yeah, it was an absolute blast, and I learned so much. It was wonderful. Great cast and crew too. It always is with indie films, but
yeah,
that was a good one.
very cool. All right, Kyle, what's up? What's your number 5?
All right, number 5 for me is going to be Dawn of the Dead, the OG one.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I have that higher on my list.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk about it when it gets to Josh.
Okay, cool.
All right, Josh, how about yours? What's your number 5?
I didn't think this top 5, we've done a lot of these. I didn't think this one was going to be that hard, but going back through like the list of all-time zombie movies, I was like, I kept changing my list because I was like, oh my God, I love that movie, but this one means more to me. So anyway, especially like the 5 and 4, I was having a real tough time, but I settled on number 5, 1992's Dead Alive by Peter Jackson. If you have not seen it, it's probably because it's really hard to find. When I worked at the video store, it was out of print, and it's still out of print technically. So DVD copies and VHS copies are like $80 to $100 for that movie. But they filmed it in New Zealand because he's from there, and it was actually called Brain Dead originally, but when they brought it to the United States, they had to change the name to Dead Alive because there was a movie in 1990 that was called Brain Dead, so they had to avoid copyright. Some of the Blu-ray copies that are out there are foreign copies, but they say Brain Dead instead of Dead Alive. But it is, at the time, it was, I think Chapter 2, I think, broke this record, but at the time when it came out in the 90s, it was said to be the bloodiest movie that had ever, like, of like production of blood, but not like the goriest, but yeah, I think they used like 300 liters of blood just in the final scene alone.
Wow.
So I mean, take that times whatever else they used in the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And it was such a gory, it is such a gory film that the video rentals in Sweden, and probably some other countries when it came out, they actually when you rented the VHS, they gave you a vomit bag with it, to take home, because it's done in a funny manner, so it's like, it is very, very gory and graphic, but it's like such a fun, like, I mean, you can obviously tell that it's not real. So I think that they did a fantastic job with the makeup effects, but I think, back then it wasn't, those movies weren't coming out all the time. So I think it was a little much, especially overseas. They couldn't really handle it. But just a really fun movie. And Peter Jackson obviously went on to do some awesome films since then. He actually has references to, he's a huge King Kong fan, and then he obviously went on to direct the remake of King Kong. And there's actually references in Dead Alive to the 1930s King Kong, and then there's references in his King Kong to Dead Alive. So it's pretty fun. Cool. Like there's a box, there's like a crate on the ship in King Kong, his version, and it's what is the name of the Sumatran rat monkey is what it says on and because in Dead Alive, the mom of the main character, she gets bitten at the zoo by a rat monkey or whatever, and then she becomes infected, and then all hell breaks loose. But yeah, it was a huge release in New Zealand. It actually, because it came out in 1992, which was when Batman Returns came out, in all over, and it actually made more per screen in New Zealand than Batman Returns did at the time, because it was that big. Well, also Peter Jackson is from there, so like I think he had a cult following from a movie that he did called Bad Taste. If you've never seen that movie is, I mean, for the budget and what he was able to put on screen, like that movie is so much fun. Meet the Feebles, obviously, is like a rated R Muppets that he did early on in his career. That one's also his early stuff is hard to find. We had DVD copies that would come into the video store every once in a while, and I would usually snag them if I could because I knew I wasn't probably going to find a better price on them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have the DVD copy of Dead Alive, Meet the Feebles. I need to get Bad Taste. They re-released that, but yeah, early Peter Jackson went on to become, Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson, obviously, Hobbit Peter Jackson. So I mean, he's a pretty epic director, and his use of visual effects is what I appreciate about his early career. So Dead Alive is probably one of his biggest like practical effects driven films, and I think that's why I like it so much. Eli Roth actually said that movie in his early years of watching film that gave him like the bloodlust to go make the movies that he makes because of the amount of blood and gore that's in it. So I just it's just a fun movie. So that's I had a tough time with my number 5, but I decided to put that as my number 5. So.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a hole in my filmography, so I've got to get up on it. I can't believe I'm a huge Peter Jackson fan too, and so I knew that he had done that. Like I thought it was 2 films, but it's interesting to know it's 3. So I need to now find these things, and it's just terrible to hear that they're like impossible to find. So now I'm going hunting.
I think so out of the 3, Bad Taste, I think is the easy, because Bad Taste was picked up by, it was picked up by somebody, I think, and they re-released it. And you can get like pretty cheap, imported versions too, but, Dead Alive occasionally shows up on streaming, but, I'm not sure what streaming services, but Amazon, they don't have it to rent, but they have DVD, Blu-ray, and VHS copies of it. So,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, they're cool. You'd enjoy them if you like Peter Jackson a lot. It's kind of cool to see where he started and where he is now. So,
oh yeah, and it's also crazy because he starts with the practical effects, like you were saying, and I think he's a majority owner or at least a part owner and founder of Weta Digital. So
yeah,
that transfer is crazy.
I think I forget the guy's name. The guy who worked on the visual effects. I think his name. I wrote it down. Richard Taylor. Richard Taylor and Bob McCarran were the main people who helped him with Dead Alive. But Richard Taylor has gone on and worked with him in his future endeavors. Like I think he was the main digital and visual effects guy for Lord of the Rings and stuff. So pretty cool.
That's awesome. I've seen a ton of interviews and behind the scenes with him on the set of Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you guys have poked your noses around the like 30 to 50 hours of Lord of the Rings bonus feature.
At one point I watched, I got on a kick, and I of course had the extended edition Blu-rays, and so I went through, like, I've watched every bit of that content that was on those extended editions. But I actually went and saw the Fellowship of the Ring at the anniversary in the theater, the extended edition, and they had this whole like prologue with like a Lord of the Rings themed Dungeons and Dragons like campaign game that was like a 15-minute kind of thing before the movie and everything. So it was kind of wild. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right. My number 5 is a little bit more mainstream. It is I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Nice.
So
that's good.
It's on my list. It's number 5. I think for me, it was like one of those kind of like Castaway or like Buried movies where it's like single actor for the majority of the film, having to carry on the story. And then just the dog being his companion was really touching. And of course the sacrifice of the dog at the end was sad. And it's just one of those films that when I watched the first time, it was super impactful, and really enjoyed it. And knowing also, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this was also the book that inspired George A. Romero to do Night of the Living Dead, in the first place. And so it's kind of like it holds a special place for me there. So that's why it's number 5 on my list. I know it's a little bit more mainstream and not as like gory and all that stuff, but it definitely piqued my interest. So that's my number 5.
Yeah, I
That's a
think
great
you're
choice.
correct. I think that sounds right.
I love that visual of him, especially like when he's in the bathtub holding the gun, got the dog in there. And that always like whenever I think of that movie, that's the visual that first pops into my mind. Of course, like that end scene, right, where he's in that lab and he's tucked
Yeah.
away behind the glass and all that stuff. And that's a great scene too. But it was great because it was also Will Smith kind of at his like heyday, at like his
Yeah.
max
Yeah.
power type moment.
Exactly.
And it was a fun action movie with him, like not too long after Independence Day, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was after Wild Wild West, which I as a kid really enjoyed.
Right. Right.
I mean, I love like Loveless and Wild Wild West. I remember that I've got the whole rap song memorized.
Nice.
I was like at the perfect age to watch it. And I remember my dad being like, "Oh, I did not like that movie." And I was like, "Oh, you didn't like the giant metal spider? That was so cool." He's like, "It was the stupidest thing I ever saw."
So I actually heard a story recently. It was
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith was talking
Yeah.
about how there was a producer that wanted him to do a big spider in the Superman movie, and
With
he's like,
Nicolas
"Why?"
Cage.
With Nicolas Cage, he's like, "Why would we do that? Doesn't make any sense." And then come to find out that same producer produced Wild Wild West, and what happens? You have a big mechanical spider. Like, whatever. It's so funny.
Yeah,
because he was
so
going to do
there's-
Brainiac or whatever.
Yeah, there's well, he talks about it in his stand-up special, an old stand-up special, but there's a documentary, if you haven't seen it, it was directed by John Schnepp, and it's the return of Superman Lives, and it's about the canceled Tim Burton Superman that was going to star Nick Cage, and the budget just ended up getting, too big, and they moved the money to do other projects, which the very first one that they worked on with all the money was Wild Wild West. And but yeah, Kevin Smith was originally he got screwed over by Tim Burton twice, well, and Warner Brothers, because he worked on the first Batman movie, and then they told him he could leave, like they took someone else's script, and then Superman, they asked him to write the Superman script, and then they told him, sorry, see you later. But yeah, Kevin Smith says he went to the theaters to see Wild Wild West, and he saw that giant metal spider, and he was like, well, he got his giant spider that he wanted in his movie. So
Yeah, that's amazing. I think the
yeah,
other
that's
thing
funny.
that stands out to me on I Am Legend is just how he had to, in his mind, he knew that he had to have companions. And so similar to like a Castaway with the volleyball, he had the mannequins set up around town so he could at least kind of pretend to have those interactions with other humans just to help him mentally stay present and not go completely insane. That was the other thing that stood out to me. I just remember him like when one of the mannequins looked like it had moved and he's like, "Hey, what you doing, man? Like
Yeah.
you ain't supposed to be there." Like it's just like that was pretty wild.
Yeah, that movie is based on a book that ended up being a movie in 1971 called The Omega Man with Charlton Heston. So that's the same. It's based off the same book.
Okay.
They just did it 2 different ways. But they originally had wanted to do I Am Legend after the Charlton Heston one, and it was going to be Ridley Scott was directing, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was actually going to star as the main character, but then that fell
would've been
through or
badass.
went over budget. Yeah, and then I think but they ended up scrapping that, and then years later, obviously, Will Smith got to do an adaptation of it.
So one other comment I want to make, and this is going to get back to how I geek out about dates and films and things like that, because there is a poster on like a billboard in the movie that's Batman vs Superman
Yeah.
in the I Am Legend movie, and there's a date on there, and I put that date on my old like Treo 300 whatever phone. I'm like, we're gonna see if this actually is something. It didn't end up panning out, but we did get a Batman v Superman movie.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of wild because I was like, let me capture that. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. They were able to like shut down, which is not easy to do. They were able to like shut, Times Square and parts of New York City down bits and pieces at a time to make it look deserted. And yeah, it's pretty nuts, but it's a fun
Cool.
one. It's a fun movie.
Yeah. So that was my number 5. I think we're back to Erin. What is your number 4?
Great choice, by the way. Sorry, I'm popping
Oh,
in, backing
Oh,
out.
you're
you're
good.
fine.
We're reading
No,
our
you're good.
ABCs right now. It's very
Oh,
important
that's
stuff.
great.
Yeah, we'll get to Z
Absolutely.
eventually. Yes, yes, yes. I'm gonna again. This is from personal experience, but it is quite a good one. If you haven't seen it, Quarantine to Terminal. I believe it
Nice.
came out 2010, 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep,
Probably.
2011.
Yeah.
Yep. And I played one of the main roles in it, and it was shot in Georgia in 2010 and was an absolute blast. And this one takes place basically in an abandoned or a plane has to be emergency landed because an outbreak, they don't know at the time what it is, but an outbreak starts and they're quarantined inside and kind of like emptied, abandoned terminal in an airport. And they're trying to figure out what's going on. The CDC is quarantining them. They're trying to get out as the infection spreads amongst their small group. And it's a fun indie film. It's fun as in like it's well done. There's really not much comedy. This one is a lot like more straight horror action. But I had a blast filming it. My character is German. I do not speak German. And I did my best given the lines ahead of time. There was definitely a scene or two where we were told to improv, and like the actor who is playing my boyfriend in the film didn't speak German naturally either. So we did our best. If anyone actually speaks German is watching that film, I apologize. I'm sure I'm butchering like 90% of it, but I did the best with what I had, and I think the effects, a lot of them were practical, turn out really well. The story is pretty interesting. You don't see, an outbreak take place in a plane and then an abandoned terminal very often. The acting was pretty good. It was received pretty well, so it was good. And my kind of fun, like, claim to fame story with it was that I was showing the other cast on set how I could do this really cool back bend. And it's like doing a bridge basically, but I wouldn't touch the ground. I would just go all the way back. And someone said, "Oh, that looks really creepy. Like you should talk to the director, John. Like maybe they could, bring that in." And I did, and so cool. He was like, "Yeah, let's go ahead and write it, your character's scene where we see you again and you're a zombie in that." So that was practical on me, and they added some, like, really cool sound effects that really sold it, and I had the contacts that we could not afford in ZombieCon, where my eyes were all wild with the zombies. So from the makeup to the practicals to, of course, my personal experience on set, I just had a blast. I think the film turned out pretty well, and, yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, Quarantine 2 Terminal is definitely worth your time, and it's my number 4 pick.
All right,
I
that's
actually,
awesome. Oh, go ahead, Spring.
sorry, I was just going to say I actually tried to look it up to see if it was streaming anywhere because I wanted to watch it earlier this week and I couldn't find it streaming. So, but I'll definitely try and figure out where to grab it for sure. Because I remember seeing the first one with Jennifer Carpenter, right? Is that
Yes,
her name? So I
I
remember
believe
seeing
so.
that one. I don't know if I ever saw the Quarantine 2 get dropped, but yeah,
You
definitely want to
you
check it
can
out.
rent it. You can rent it on Prime Video for $3.59, or you can buy the DVD for $9.55, and it's Amazon's overall pick as well. So
There you
go
Hey.
go.
snag a copy.
I
No,
like
that's
it.
really cool. I like that you're picking movies you worked on because that works really well. Like movies that make you. So obviously, you have feelings, because you worked on them, which is really cool. And the quarantine movies are a blast. They're the American versions of
Record, right?
Record, obviously,
Right.
which those are pretty epic. So yeah, I've always liked the quarantine movies just because the first time I saw the first Record movie, that movie, especially like the end, that freaked me. I didn't know that was coming. My friend kept telling me, he's like, "Have you seen that movie?" And I was like, "No." And then we watched it, and we watched it in like pitch black, at some creepy apartment, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's terrifying."
Yeah, we
But yeah,
watched that
that's
one
a
this
good
year
choice.
for October. Our October watching, we watched Record, the original. So yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right, Kyle, I think you're up. What's your number 4, buddy?
All right. Number 4. I'm going with One Cut of the Dead.
Ooh.
Nice.
Kind of I think it's like basically an independent film right from Japan, but blew up over there, came to the States, did very well here. I think it did pretty well internationally, made a ton of money off of its budget, and has one of the most unique twists in any zombie movie that I've ever seen. And as a filmmaker, I get an extra added bonus, especially as we're watching it, making ZombieCon, of watching them make a zombie movie within a zombie movie, which may or may not be a movie.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that one came up on my list. I was looking for, just for movies to watch that are for the October. I organize the list sometimes by like rated, highly rated, and like film time, just because if I'm trying to get a bunch of movies in for the month of October and try and find the shorter length of films. But that one popped up when we watched Record, and it was like one that was right next to it, and it was also very highly rated. And so I was like, I want to watch that sometime soon, because I've heard it seemed like it was one of those that really was popular and probably really well done. So definitely want to check it out.
Just for our listeners out there, that movie is not only the #1 rated Rotten Tomatoes zombie movie, but it is the only one that has 100% Rotten Tomatoes rating.
Wow.
If you haven't seen it, Kyle just threw that out there. That's probably one of the high level zombie movies that you should watch if you're prepping for 28 years later Bone Temples.
Yeah, 100%. And I would go into more detail about it because I find the movie fascinating. But a big part of the movie is kind of the twist, and I really don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, because it's a lot of the fun is kind of figuring that out for yourself. So
nice.
Yeah. Definitely. It would be fun maybe to even do a watch along. I don't want to take up all your time, guys. I know you have plenty of things you got to do.
I'd be 100% down. Absolutely. Now we
could do that.
That was one that we picked up. Originally it wasn't available, cause I'm a huge physical media collector, but I'm also lazy. So I have an iTunes collection that's quite robust as well. And so before I could get it on iTunes, I was trying to just basically source it, and I was able to get a DVD copy off Amazon. It was pretty reasonably priced.
You can. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. We just burnt that thing to the ground watching it so many times, but now it's out on iTunes, so it's way more easily attainable, especially for rentals and stuff.
Yeah, I think I saw it on Shudder or AMC.
Oh yeah, I think it is on Shudder.
Shudder, so I could stream it through our Prime, and we just didn't get to it this year.
Yeah, if you go on Amazon, underneath the rental on Amazon, which is $3.99, it says $0 with a Shudder subscription trial. They have a Steelbook Blu-ray DVD combo on Amazon for $14.99. So probably adding that to my cart today.
Christmas present ideas. Kyle, don't look that up. You don't want that.
Sounds awesome.
No, Kyle's probably like me. One of the first things I ever collected was physical media, and I have working at the video store, I mean, we would get cool obscure box sets and cool things out, and I would pick them up, and I just kept them. They're in bins right now because I don't have a shelf to put them on. But yeah, I'll definitely have to add that to my list. So.
Very cool.
Good choice. That one is.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
I almost put that on mine, and then my personal choices just edged it out. So honorable mention.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, POPpaGoss, what you got? Number 4.
Number 4. My number 4 is a pretty popular one, so you guys might have it on your list, but I did 28 Days Later.
That is also my number 4.
Okay.
So you got it higher? All right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Very cool. That's my number 4.
I wanted to put it higher, but I kept thinking of reasons why, so I just moved it down a little bit. But yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to Kyle's, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So that skips me too. We're back to you, Erin. What's your number 3?
And that was another one. I'm throwing out an honorable mention. That probably would have been my number 4. For my number 3, however, it's got to go to Shaun of the Dead.
Ooh, nice.
I've got that higher. I'm
All right.
sorry.
I figured I was not the only one, so I'm gonna. Yep.
Sorry,
Yep.
guys.
No, you're good. You're good.
No,
I've got it on
that's a
my list
popular
too.
one. Yeah.
I've got it on, it's my number 3 also. So if it's higher for you, then that skips me again too. What we're back to you, Kyle. What's your number 3?
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
My plan is working perfectly. I'm monopolizing the conversation. No. So my number 3 is Train to Busan.
I got that
All
one
right.
higher.
I
I've
have
got
that
one higher.
I have that one higher as well.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
it comes back
Cut her
around. It comes
down.
back around.
What goes around comes around, I guess.
Oh.
Well, the good thing is we all agree that these movies are awesome. So
Exactly. And that was kind of the thing. That's the fun stuff. All right. So it's you, Josh. You're number 3.
okay. My number 3 is Night of the Living Dead, the George Romero. Did you guys have that one?
No.
I wanted so badly to put it on the list, and like from a personal standpoint, it definitely is up there. But I was trying to look at them like really objectively and like my
Sure.
own rewatchability. So from my childhood, it's a number 1 all the way. But I didn't have it on my list. But I have to throw love to the movie because it's kind of what's great at all.
Honestly,
Right.
I do really love it. I honestly threw it in my list because it set the precedent for like all the zombie stuff forward. So that's my number 3. So George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. It is pretty much to thank for launching the zombie movie genre. It's not the first zombie film. The first film that had zombies in it was White Zombie in 1932. But just a fun one, black and white. It's part of the Criterion Collection for a reason. It has a huge, it's been cemented in film history for a lot of what it offered to creators. And George Romero has always been a very independent mindset, I guess, but he didn't always get big budgets, and he kind of has been the original horror like indie director. But he was more well known because he was friends with all these famous European directors like Argento, and I'm pretty sure he was friends with Fulci as well. But I've heard many stories before he passed away. I never got to meet him, but you just hear how like humble he is, and he doesn't really he never made a ton of money, like even convention appearances, just because he was very low budget mindset, thankful for what he had, thankful for the fans. But Night of the Living Dead, it created a whole genre basically, so we have that to thank. Tom Savini he ended up directing the remake, which a lot of fans didn't like. But he did the remake of Night of the Living Dead, and he was actually supposed to do the makeup effects for that, but he was in the military, so he got sent over. It's kind of a blessing because Tom was so good at makeup effects because of what he saw as a photographer in the war over there. So he didn't work on Night of the Living Dead, but he and Romero have always been friends. So obviously later on he would work on Dawn of the Dead, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. He directed the remake of Night of the Living Dead, but we kind of have his experience over in the war to thank for how good and realistic his effects were. So they used to simulate blood. It was in the 60s. And so like to simulate actual blood, they used Bosco chocolate syrup, which is pretty crazy to think about, people being covered in sticky chocolate and whatever. It's probably pretty consistent with real blood, actually.
Well, it makes me think of what is it? Spaceballs. It's like pizza. You're delicious. It's like you had these guys covered in chocolate sauce.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and then White Zombie was technically the first zombie film. The movie that influenced Romero to do Night of the Living Dead was a movie in 1962 called Carnival of Souls. And then Night of the Living Dead was one of the first films to ever depict like actual violent, like, you know, they didn't really show a lot of actual violence on screen back then. So like this was the first, it pushed the boundaries, especially when it came out. And speaking of first films to show violence, apparently I didn't know this, but in 1904 there was a movie called The Great Train Robbery, and that's the first on-screen murder ever.
Wow.
So that, I thought that was very interesting, just because I can't imagine, well, first off, the film back then, I don't know how they would have done that, but
I think that's the famous shot where he, you know, it's like the cowboy looks directly into camera with the gun. And
okay,
shoots into the camera. I might be
you're
wrong.
probably right.
I
No,
think
that's probably right.
And what was the name of that one again?
The Great Train Robbery.
It's like a cowboy with like a big, you know, kind of handlebar, not handlebar, you know, one of those big mustaches that goes out.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, The Great Train Robbery, I mean, that sounds like it'd be almost a Western. What was it? Oh, this was one of the first movies to star an African American as the lead actor, Dwayne Jones. Technically, Sam Lucas was in Uncle Tom's Cabin in 1914. That was like technically the first like leading role by an African American, but Night of the Living Dead was, you know, obviously more mainstream, and that's considered the first African American starring role.
I think for me too, that one kind of, the role in Night of the Living Dead, to have him be the hero, I think that's also a big thing.
Oh, absolutely.
The Uncle Tom's Cabin is like, that's a you know, a black story, black led, but that makes sense. But in Night of the Living Dead, he, for most of the culture at that time, to see that, to have him be the protector was something that was promoting, you know, equality, which was not something that they had seen on screen before.
So absolutely.
And speaking to that point too, I think a big it was a big moment in cinema, because he also slaps one of the white ladies in the film, which normally would have had people at the time, like, you know, erupting in like, you know, craziness, like, how dare this happen? And no one said anything about it. And it just spoke really to like the zombie, like what zombies would become, where, you know, everyone has their personal kind of whatever issues, but when you're faced with like, you know, the condensing of like the human spirit into the most negative form, like a zombie that's trying to eat you, you realize, oh yeah, we're all the same color. It doesn't really matter. You know, we got a much bigger issue than what color skin you have, which isn't an issue to begin with.
We all bleed the same blood.
That's right. It was a beautiful thing, and is just amazing that not one newspaper. There's a thing in the documentary that talks about Night of the Living Dead. It goes into this whole thing where, not one newspaper commented or said anything, not even in the South, about how that happened, which they were like citing all these other sources where much smaller, you know, things would get way more negative attention. And this was just so universally kind of understood as, she was going nuts. The zombie, she was calling the zombies in. Everyone would have slapped that lady at that point.
Right.
She was going to get everyone killed.
Very realistic. Yeah.
That is awesome. Cool. Yeah. I had it, I probably have it ranked higher in my overall like movie rankings, but I figured someone else would have it on their list. So I wanted to give some love somewhere else. So it's good stuff. Cool. Well, I said my number 3 was Shaun of the Dead, is obviously higher.
I got Shaun of the Dead as my number 2.
No, you had it as your number 3.
Yeah.
Sorry, my number 3. Number 2.
Yeah, you're on
number 2 is one of my favorite as well. Train to Busan.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. So I've got it higher, so we'll talk about it in just a minute. So
all right.
All right, Kyle, what you got? Number 2.
Okay, so for my number 2, I've got Shaun of the Dead.
There you go. So we're here. We can talk about it.
I didn't have it on my. I love that movie, but I didn't have it on my list at all.
Yeah,
so go ahead. I had to put it on there. It's like,
it's a great one. I mean, I just figured you guys would all have it on your list. So.
Oh, I mean, it's right. Edgar Wright, at one of his best movies, like using all of those Edgar Wright isms, right? The quick cutting, the smash cuts, just the scene, right, where you see Simon Pegg kind of re-go through his morning routine, right, which starts the film.
100%, yeah.
And then once the world has gone to chaos and he's kind of stumbling through his life, I feel like we've all been there. Like we've all had a job we hate. We're like just tired. We don't really care. And you've just been doing the same thing for too long. And you wouldn't notice if there was a zombie thing. I was like, this is brilliant. Because in like every other zombie movie, the zombies change. And usually everyone kind of catches on pretty quickly. They get attacked from somewhere. And just this kind of like walking through life as a zombie yourself. I mean, I've been there. I used to clean toilets at a gym, so I've definitely wandered through the gym with my head down, not noticed anything. So I just thought it was super awesome. And I mean, obviously the comedy is on point with the zombie references and the homages to all the great zombie films that came before it are on point. The cinematography is beautiful. The acting is absolutely perfect, and the story, it still manages to have the stakes of a zombie movie where you're actually like, when the friend gets killed, and I always blank on this actor's name, the heavier set guy.
Nick
Frost.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If Erin was here, she would have chimed right in. Thank you.
Oh, you're good. Yeah.
But when he gets killed at the end, or not killed, but obviously turned into a zombie and then later turned into kind of a video game playing pet. I was just like, this is giving me like the major feels. Even though you're laughing throughout the movie, you care about the characters and you want to see everyone survive. And that last standoff at the Winchester is like, this is a great zombie invasion attack scene. We've got, limited resources, limited ammunition. Love how realistic it was that like no one knows how to shoot the gun, because it's like pretty, especially in England where guns aren't really a thing. Like in America, I feel like you'd get one person in there who's like, I've been to a shooting range, and they're going to hit, not every time, but they'll be able to handle themselves. But in England, with guns kind of being so suppressed, you're like, yeah, who would know how to use a gun? Like, especially like one of those like cock action rifles. I just thought it was so logical and so ridiculous and paired so perfectly. It ran that tightrope like with absolute perfection. So
yeah, absolutely. I think for me it's the perfect blend of that kind of comedy and heart. Like that's what gets me. I think the comedy is funny and it works. All the scenes you said were great, and then it's like that once you start realizing, oh, my mother could die, or this friend could die, or all that stuff, like it got real fast. But yeah, it definitely, and I think for me that one also opened up a whole world of, I think that was probably the first horror comedy that I ever saw. I think up until that point everything had been pretty segmented in my movie watching, and so it was like, oh, it opened up a whole other world of all these other movies that came after it, and probably before it too, where it was blending this comedy with the horror. One of my favorites in that vein is Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which is like just incredibly hilarious and also horrific and gory and all that stuff. But it's the great combination of that comedy and then I think Anna vs. the Apocalypse. I think I saw that one around when that one came out, which is probably could have been on a zombie list too. But anyway, it was Shaun of the Dead is great. It's my it was my number 3.
Shout out to George Romero again. He loved that movie so much he put Simon and actually I think he put Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright as zombies in Land of the Dead, the sequel with John Leguizamo. They were he loved the movie so much it was Simon for sure, but IMDb says it was Edgar Wright was the other guy, but I think it was Nick Frost. But either way, it's pretty cool. They they did their thing. But and then I found this quote when the movie came out. Someone asked Simon Pegg why they had slow moving zombies, and he said, because death is not an energy drink.
That's a great quote.
Yeah, it's really funny. But yeah, that's a fun one. I love the scene with the vinyl, like the different like soundtracks and stuff, like Batman and that one's just so funny. Just using them as weapons.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good one. The Coronetto trilogy is so fun. I mean, Hot Fuzz is great. Shaun of the Dead, obviously the first one, and then I really liked
End.
At World's End. I thought
Yeah.
that was so funny.
I
Mhm.
actually
Great
got to
movie.
see At World's End. I was living on Sunset and Vine at the time, right in front of the ArcLight Theater with the Cinerama Dome. That was
Okay.
so I could
Wow.
literally walk there. So I would walk there like every day to see whatever movie was playing or rewatch something whenever I wasn't doing something. And At World's End came out while I was living there, and it was like one of those really cool movie watching experiences to see a movie that hits you that hard and is that good in like an iconic place, which it's hard to find a movie that hits that good to begin with. And then you mix it with like a unique viewing experience, and it just like crescendos into like, okay, I'll remember this for the rest of my life. That was freaking
Yeah.
badass.
100%.
Well,
for
and
sure.
Quentin Tarantino, he's put that in his top 20 movies since the 90 like early 90s. He put that as one of his top 20. So it's
Did he
got to
put
be good.
Shaun of the Dead or At World's End?
Oh, sorry, Shaun of the Dead. So if Quentin puts it in his top 20, it's got to be good. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. So Josh, what's your number 2?
my number 2 is Train to Busan.
Oh, that's right. And I've got that one higher. So I'll go to my number 2. My number 2 is World War Z with Brad Pitt.
Nice.
I know it's maybe not the most technically, zombie, like, critically acclaimed zombie films, but it really hit for me because I think the thing that grabbed my attention was them working as a pack and working as a horde and like doing everything visually to make it even more scary, kind of taking some of those different showing zombies in a different way than we'd seen them before. And I just remember climbing the walls and trying to attack the plane and the helicopters and then of course I think it just kind of hit me different because it was just a different scale of zombie film than what I'd previously seen, which was a lot more slow moving and all that stuff. So that's kind of all I got to say about it, but that's why it's high on my list.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that
a
film.
fun one.
Yeah, it's fantastic. That scene with Brad Pitt in the viral kind of infection lab where he's trying to get the vial, and they've got that one super well cast zombie that's just clicking his teeth right outside the glass.
Yeah.
That is just it was like a perfect zombie moment. I don't think we saw a zombie, honestly, like in terms of individual zombie actor in like that emaciated state that good until we get to 28 years later where that very famous zombie
Yeah.
actor that people were like, oh, is that Cillian Murphy? Is that supposed to
Yeah.
be Cillian Murphy or whatever? But like just a really brilliant performance by that zombie actor. It was truly terrifying. And like you were saying, their ability to work together, especially kind of like, an ant colony, right? As they're getting into Jerusalem and they're like all like kind of climbing over each other to get over the walls, and just seeing how, like, this is my favorite part about zombie films in general, but it's really emphasized in World War Z, is like you mess up one time, you let one kind of get through, and it's kind of like that Starship Troopers, type moment where once one's in, 50 more in, then 100 more in, then 10,000 more in, and it's like it just goes from somewhat defensible to utter chaos just like 2 seconds later. And that's just horrifying because it's like, well, you cannot make a mistake, and it just ramps up the tension.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get the second one. I mean, I know Fincher was tied to the second one for a while, and then he was asking too much money, so they were like, "Oh, we'll just not do it, I guess."
Yep. And I think for me too, like that would be fun to see. I think a revisit of Brad Pitt and Fincher would be at least the third time that they've worked together with Seven and Fight Club. So that would be a lot of fun to see. But who knows? Who knows?
Well, that's a great performance by Brad Pitt in that film too. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's really honestly. We'll probably get it. You know how these things work. We'll probably get it in like 20 years. They'll be like, oh, all right, well, it's finally time, because they never give you a sequel when it's the proper time. They wait 20 to 30 years, and then they're like, now's a good time, since there's a whole new group of young people who have never seen the original film. So
Well, it's
Yeah.
kind of like them now talking to Arnold about doing like a Predator, sequel.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
we needed this like a long time ago, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they sure do wait a long time now. It's kind of weird too, because you would think it'd be the opposite, because it's like now everything costs more, and then you're gonna have to pay those big actors a lot to come back and do this stuff. So I don't know why you would wait so long, but it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
It is
remember
what it is.
the contract battle, right, with Sigourney Weaver to get Aliens made. James Cameron
Yeah.
talked about this a lot, and
Yeah.
I just think it's laughable now, right? She just wanted $1 million, which obviously is a huge amount of money. But when you're
Right.
talking about a leading actor, you're trying to wrestle them into coming back. And then you look at the paychecks that have been paying like subsequently, like throughout the years, where it's like The Rock
Yeah.
getting paid like $25 million, or Arnold's getting paid. I think on Twins, Arnold took no money up front. He took a gross point split. And I think in an interview, it said that he made upwards of over $40 million on that film.
Crazy.
It's like,
Yeah.
insane.
Amazing.
No, it's not. I was actually just watching some interviews with James Cameron about Aliens, so that's funny that you mentioned that.
I'm
Very
a huge
cool.
James Cameron nerd. Like, I watch as
Yeah,
many
no.
reviews as I get.
Yeah, his well, the whole Alien franchise, just because like it's so diverse, because there are different directors every time, so
Mhm.
it's I like that aspect of it, because I mean we got, obviously we got the master Ridley Scott started out, and then James Cameron did, and probably one of the best sequels, and then I know Fincher's third one doesn't get a lot of love, but there's still some really cool things in that movie too. So
If Fincher had done everything the same and he just kept Newt and Hicks alive long enough to have them have, like, even if it was a tragic death, but I think it killed me as a kid fan. And I think
Right.
that, I'm speaking for a good portion of the fan base, where it's like, you are so invested in Hicks and Newt. You had just gone through this like Armageddon style war. Everyone else gets off, because you come to love a lot of those characters in Aliens. And you've invested so much in this trio of characters, which is kind of like this makeshift family of sorts. And to just start the third movie with, they died. It's like,
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like, thank you.
Yeah.
but
In the third one, I like the religious aspect of it. That
Yeah.
kind of played into it with the priest or whatever from the Rock show or whatever.
yeah,
I just thought that was an
prisoners
interesting.
and their whole,
the
there's
interesting dynamic to it.
It's a very I guess for the times too, like late 90s or whatever, but it's got that gothic style. I kind of like a lot of those 90s like gothic, like The Crow and
Mhm.
Alien 3.
kind of like Spawnish type
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, Spawn, yeah, like all that kind of stuff is so cool. There's parts of it. I mean, that was Fincher's first like movie that he ever did. Considering that was what he had to do to work, like what hoops he had to jump through, it's not bad. He was mostly doing music videos at the time anyway. So,
And I think the fact that he went from doing that movie, having a horrible time, and then being able to do 7 next.
oh
And, like
man,
that was his
So
next
good.
movie. Like, so he had a horrible time with that studio, and then he got another opportunity to do 7 and crushed it. And now everybody's like, oh yeah, we should probably just let him do his thing. Like let him
Exactly.
cook.
Oh,
Yeah,
Fincher's the man.
I was gonna say, I don't think that, I wouldn't put Aliens 3 and it not, reaching the same height as Aliens or Alien on Fincher's shoulders. From my understanding, just watching behind the scenes docs and stuff, it seemed like there were a lot of cooks in the kitchen on that one.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
every time you add, a ton of producers and egos and, money, I feel like it's a recipe for disaster, especially when you have artists like a Fincher or James Cameron or, Ridley Scott. These are guys, I think, who work best kind of in vacuums and in charge of their own creative works.
For sure.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely.
She's in a good mood. Yay! I'll hold her.
Yeah.
Awesome.
She is so cute.
I think we're coming up on her nap time in the next like half an hour or so. She's all over the place. It's like I'm content, I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm tired,
Yeah,
I'm excited.
those naps are.
Okay, so my number one. Maybe I'm not the only one here. Kyle probably as well. I'm sorry. I'm going to ZombieCon Volume 1 here.
Heck
Nice.
yeah.
I was gonna give it. Obviously, I had to give it an honorable mention, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put it at number one." But I actually have another number one. To be fair, so
Yeah.
but yeah, we could talk about it if you want.
Put it at my number one. I went with
Yeah.
a more subjective list. I know you said earlier you went with a more objective route. So, of course, with my personal experience, 9 years in the making, it's been our lives.
Yeah.
ZombieCon Vol.
Truly,
1.
movies that made us
Truly
Exactly.
crazy.
movies that
Made us crazy.
Yes. That's perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
I mean, I could talk about it all day, but I'll just say, of course, trying to go with a more objective route. If you're looking for horror, you're looking for comedy, you're looking for a zombie mashup type movie that you haven't seen before. Zombies, cosplayers, katanas, blood,
Yes.
gore, humor, heart. It's fun. It's campy, but it's also bloody and real.
Yeah.
It's memorable, and it's one of the movies that made us.
Heck
Absolutely.
yeah.
And you can get it digitally. You can get it on DVD.
DVD.
I've got my DVD copy. I got 2 DVD copies now, so I'm excited
Hey.
about that. You know, we might do a giveaway for this one. You know, like for people that comment on this week's post, we'll do a giveaway. Let
Yeah.
somebody else get a DVD copy. That'd be awesome.
You can also get this amazing book. Look at this bad boy. It's so beautiful. No, literally, this book is fire. This thing is so. When I opened it on my channel, I was like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen," because it's like very high def pictures. Love
Yeah.
it.
Thank you very
amazing.
much. It took way too long to make that thing. It's like I thought I could do it in a weekend. It was like 3 weeks later of like, 10-hour days repositioning things, going back and forth with Amazon, their sizing and everything. They're like, nope, you're like off by an inch here. I'm like, I thought I put it all the right template.
I understand.
Oh yeah, ZombieCon is. I mean, it's very unique for all our listeners. I'm sure a few of you have already seen it, but it's. I almost put it on my list just because it is so unique and it's one of a kind. And not just because we have Kyle and Erin on, but it is a truly special experience to watch it with your friends. I have a lot. I've told this before to you guys, but I have a lot of friends who don't really know anything about horror. They don't know. They hardly know much about film in general. And so when I told them that it's has a lot of like anime references and cosplay and stuff, they were like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And I was like, "Yeah, it's not like your typical, zombie film." So I think you guys would enjoy it because it's not like the others and it stands on its own. But it's very good. Erin is. I'm not just saying this because she's here right now. Erin is phenomenal in the movie. I mean, a couple of scenes are. When I first watched it, I was like, man, killed it. No pun intended. But yeah,
Thank you so much.
great choice. ZombieCon is an awesome one. So,
And since we were showing off the stuff, I have to show off this new shirt. That's
Oh, nice.
oh, that is cool.
That's very
actually
I love
nice.
that.
our director of photography on the film, Edwin, actually drew this as a black and white sketch. And I colored it. I don't know if he wanted it to be colored, but I've got the original black and white. He's an amazing artist, so I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Nice. Yeah, no, these shirts are so comfortable. I wore it to the con and it breathes really well. Like I didn't
Mhm.
some of my shirts that I buy, they're a heavier fabric, so I get like, especially when it's hot, I get real, sweaty. So this was nice. It was breathable and I got a lot of compliments on it. So it was nice.
And if the shirts are too breathable for your taste, there are these amazing beanies that keep you warm. So.
I like it.
I need to get. I haven't even gotten a POPpaGoss beanie yet. I gotta order one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I gotta say the same for the movies that make you podcast. This t-shirt is so soft and thin as well and comfy. I'm right there with you guys. Like I cannot stand a stiff cotton
Yeah.
t-shirt. I'm like, if I'm wearing a t-shirt, I'm going in for comfort. I'm not dressed,
Exactly.
trying to be fancy and structured. So I totally agree with you. And wanted to give a quick thank you so much for having me. I'm not sure I'm making an appearance at the very end here. This little girl's about to get a nursing nap.
That's
So
all right.
I'll let Kyle close out for our team, but thanks for
All
having
right.
us and looking forward to hopefully the next
Absolutely.
one.
Yeah,
No
thank you so
worries.
much. Appreciate
Take
you
a
so
little,
much.
take a little snooze, baby.
We'll use some of those sound effects for the next zombie film.
There we go. All right.
Baby zombie.
And to close out our merchandising hour, I felt just to be a little retrospective on it. You got Spaceballs the flamethrower here.
Spaceballs the flamethrower. Yeah, no, the merch is on point. But yeah, Spring, he lucked out. He found a really nice company, so
Yeah,
it's pretty
I've
cool.
enjoyed that, and it's doesn't like for us, like I can create anything on there. It doesn't cost me anything, and then if
Yeah.
somebody buys it, they just print it, ship it, go, and so it just makes it so I can just be as creative as possible. Like any ideas that anybody has, like I can just throw it up there, and then somebody can buy it if they want to. If they don't buy it, I'm not out anything. So it's pretty fun.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I love it.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I think we're at your number one, Kyle. What do you got? I think I know what it is.
All right, I got 28 Days Later.
Nice.
Nice.
Number one. Viscerally terrifying. I mean, shot in such a unique way. Right.
Mhm.
First thing that was like done like what digitally kind of, we're able to close down like on a relatively low budget. Of course, they still had a, compared to like, a micro indie, they had a huge budget, but for that level of film, super low budget, being able to shut down, parts of London and get those shots kind of, stolen more or less. Amazing technical achievement. And then Cillian Murphy, of course, which is like I think it's the first thing I saw him in, which
Yeah.
I've come to enjoy his entire film catalog. I think he's one of the best actors. I wish we'd see him in even more stuff. I know he's a little, I don't know if he's like choosy on what roles he takes or whatever, but he is just like kind of one of those actors in my book that ranks, in the top like 5 guys. Like, you got your Daniel Day-Lewis, your Leonardo DiCaprio, and Cillian Murphy is right up there with them. And his performance across, especially the first 2 movies, I mean, it's fantastic. So, and obviously, I mean, we're talking about 28 Days Later, Bone Temple, or years later, Bone Temple. So goes hand in hand with that.
For sure.
Absolutely. And I he's gone on and he starred, of course, in the Dark Knight trilogy with Nolan as Sandman, Scarecrow. There it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then of course with his big movie Oppenheimer, just really gave him a vehicle to show his talent, and he was on all the lists for Best Actor that year. So he definitely has proven. I know he did a long stint on Peaky Blinders.
I was gonna say Peaky Blinders. He kills it in that show.
Yeah,
he's good friends with Danny Boyle, and they did another movie. If you guys have never seen it, it's a sci-fi movie called Sunshine.
Okay,
And,
I've heard of that. I haven't seen it yet.
That movie, not only beautifully shot, but really awesome cast. I saw it when I worked at the video store, but yeah, it's really good. Dark Knight trilogy. He had, if you look on YouTube, they have his audition tape as Batman, because Chris brought him in as audition for Batman first, and then he liked him so much he kept him in the trilogy. But and then obviously he would go on to do Oppenheimer with Nolan as well. But yeah, it's an awesome movie. I think that's another movie kind of like Night of the Living Dead. Like, we hadn't seen a really solid, infected or zombie flick in a while, and this one kind of like not only got people more excited, but it also did it in a new, unique way. And like Danny Boyle is obviously such an experimental director. You were correct. It was actually the first movie that was entirely shot on digital. So it was like groundbreaking at the time. 9/11 happened while they were filming that movie. So like they had I think that kind of helped, capitalize on that. Just because, the fear of, the world ending or whatever it was. I think a lot of people went and saw it once it came out. But yeah, I had a budget of 8 million and it went on to make 80 million. I think it made even more than that worldwide. It's one of the most profitable movies of the early 2000s, other than Paranormal Activity, which, was like a $15,000 budget and made $190,000 or $1 million or whatever.
Right.
Insanity. But yeah, it's one of the most profitable horror films of the 2000s for sure. But and actually crazy, so obviously Cillian Murphy got cast, but they originally offered it to Ian McGregor, but he was mad. He was like upset with Danny Boyle because they worked on Trainspotting together.
Yeah.
But he was mad at him at the time for some reason. And and then he ended up not getting cast. But they've reconciled since. And then Ryan Gosling was actually offered the role, but he turned it down because he had another movie that he was filming. So kind of crazy to think, like, because Cillian Murphy's so good in that role.
And I think
he's kind of perfect, the perfect look.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it's perfect, and is the fact that he was an unknown too. I think gives it a different layer of realness or realism or authenticity to seeing an Ewan McGregor in that role when we just saw him as Obi-Wan. It just wouldn't have hit the same as seeing this no-name actor come in and kill this, this role. That's kind of where my head went on hearing those comments. But I mean, of course, like the fact that they shot the empty streets, they just, without a permit or anything, they just got out there really early and like did it is just insane too. Like just having to do it on a basically an indie style film, a guerrilla style shooting is incredible.
And then Alec, go ahead, Kyle.
No, I was just going to touch on the streets just for 1 second from like a technical set dressing standpoint. I love how they put so much trash on the street itself, because it really did feel like it wasn't just like an empty street, right, with no people. It felt like it was a deserted street, like things had just stopped moving. And I always really appreciated that detail. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, go back on that, the whole shot, like towards the beginning of just, in front of like Big Ben and everything, like that whole shot and the different like, points of view up above and on the street. It's very haunting because we all have that fear of, what if we wake up one day, and I mean that goes all the way back to like Twilight Zone days. Like they had a couple episodes that were based on someone just waking up and nobody's left on the world. So pretty crazy. But I wanted to bring up one of the head writers for that was Alex Garland, who obviously went on to make Ex Machina, Civil War, and Warfare, which Kyle talked about in our last interview. And Alex Garland's just phenomenal, very talented writer, director. Him and Danny based the infection and the disease off of the Ebola virus, which is transmitted through the blood. So that's what the red eyes and the rash and all that's symptoms of Ebola. So that's what they based it off of. And then they also said they didn't want to make a typical like, zombies make eat brains or flesh, or like they didn't want to make that type of movie because it's been done so many times. So they based it off like the biggest fear at the time, which I just said 9/11 had just happened. So like the biggest fear to modern society was disease at the time, because there was like mad cow disease, foot and mouth was real big. So people were just terrified. I mean, kind of like the pandemic, which we just went through. People were scared, and they were, I mean, when that movie came out, the time that it came out, we were all kind of on high alert because of disease and stuff. So they capitalized off of that, made this movie. And then the most important thing is this was like our first movie where zombies were ridiculously fast, and it's we hadn't seen anything like it. So that's pretty nuts. Like, people, they can run and chase you, and it's harder to get away. And you don't have as much time. So I thought that was a cool thing that they added to the movie. But yeah, great choice. 28 Days Later is still such a solid film. So
Yep, we rewatched it for 28 Years Later last year. That one and 28 Weeks Later, we watched both of those, and so it was just a lot of fun to revisit those. And it definitely hit different after COVID than it did before.
Yeah.
You know, because we're like, hey, we've been here, we've seen streets like that, so pretty crazy. So, Josh, what's your number one?
My number one is Dawn of the Dead, the 1978 original version.
Great
Okay.
choice.
And yeah, I wanted to lump, because I actually really dig the remake by Zack
Me too.
Snyder. I was gonna lump them together just as one, but I just decided to just focus on the original. But obviously, written, directed by George Romero, who gave us Night of the Living Dead. We can't have a zombie list with just one Romero film, because I mean that man is the zombie king. So pretty cool. But Dario Argento, I was saying earlier, they were like best friends. So Argento, he loved Romero so much, he wanted him to come out to Rome, where he was living at the time, and he wanted him to just like have no distractions, work on his script. And then so Argento actually got to look at the script before anybody else, and then Romero finished the script there. And then in return, Argento was able to have full control of the like European version of the film. So he was able to add edits and do all that. And then he also supplied Romero with the music, which was a band. I think they're an Italian band. They're called Goblin. It's like a heavy metal band. So most of the music in the movie is from Goblin, which Argento supplied Romero with, and the investors paid up the money to do that as well. The movie originally was going to have an X rating, which is like, it's a very rare thing when a movie gets hit with a possible X rating.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to make all these cuts, but Romero stood his ground, and they ended up releasing it with no rating at all. But there was a disclaimer that it was so gory and graphic that nobody under 17 was allowed to go to the movie. I'm sure many people, like we were all kids once, we probably snuck in. I'm sure people got to go see it regardless, but
Yeah.
And then earlier I talked about Tom Savini not being able to work on Night of the Living Dead because he was in the military taking photographs in the war. So for this movie, he's in the movie as a few characters, but he also was a part of why the movie is so like realistic in the makeup effects, because he was like the main person working on all the makeup effects. And since he had seen real life, people losing limbs and guts and like real blood and stuff, he knew what everything was supposed to look like. So he wasn't satisfied with the blood in the final cut. He thought it was too vibrant and bright, but Romero wanted it to be comic book, like feel like a comic book. So that's why it was that way. And then speaking of Tom Savini, they had such a tight budget, they couldn't afford stunt performers. So Savini and Romero's assistant, I forget his name. I think he's from Russia. But anyway, Tom Savini and Romero's assistant ended up volunteering to do most of the stunt work in the movie. Nice. And then there was a dummy. They had a dummy one dummy that they used for multiple shots that was like burnt and shot at, and they just reused it over and over in certain scenes, which is pretty cool. And then for the fake blood, It was a mixture of food coloring, peanut butter, and cane sugar syrup, which is interesting. So I'm sure it was, I mean, I feel like that would be a little chunkier than normal, but
Yeah.
most of the makeup effects took about 3 hours on the zombie extras every day. And then I read a funny story that there was Monroeville Mall where they shot the movie is still in Pennsylvania right now. But there's a bar inside and there's a couple of bars outside. So there, some of the people who were dressed as zombies would go like drink after filming or like before and like late at night. So they'd be dressed in their makeup effects still. And people
That's
were just like,
amazing.
what the hell are you doing? Like, pretty weird. And it's kind of sad. Speaking of the Monroeville Mall, their Walmart corporation actually like bought it last year or beginning of this year. And they in 2027 they're planning on demolishing it and making like Walmart and Sam's Club and a bunch of businesses. I know there's a lot of petitions to like save it, but or make it a landmark or whatever, because people come every year to visit. You know, that's where they filmed Dawn of the Dead. So they have a convention there actually too. What is it called? Living Dead Weekend. And they, you know, obviously get people from the Dawn of the Dead movie and stuff. But this next year, 2026, might, I mean, hopefully not, but it might possibly be the final one. So if any of you have never visited the mall where they filmed Dawn of the Dead, June 12th through the 14th is Living Dead Weekend. And this might be their final one, sadly. So try to make it out for that. But yeah, just a fun movie. Really cool. I mean, a lot of fun. I put it as my number one mainly because, you know, it's a full on zombie flick. It's not just like, you know, a slow build up. Like, I mean, it pretty much just gets right into it. We all go shopping. We've all been to the mall. So to think of like a zombie apocalypse and you being trapped at a mall is just like, it's kind of fun and exciting, but it's also scary. So I just think it's a lot of fun, and the actors. And then Ken Foree is a good friend of mine, and he we hang out at cons when he shows up. So I kind of am biased. I love Dawn of the Dead just because Ken Foree's one of the main actors in that. So it's always fun to talk about that movie. But yeah, it's a good one. So that's why I put it at my number one.
Nice.
No, it's a fantastic one. I remember growing up, it was like one of my favorite zombie movies. I struggled with, I think I did, right. So yeah, I did put it on my list. I put it on number 5 though. And that's just because, you know, I've probably been a little more influenced by some of the newer films. But growing up, having the atmosphere of being stuck in the mall, which is always one of those issues, right? In like your titular zombie movie, it's lack of resources. And this was the first time like I saw a zombie film where you had a superfluous amount of resources. But it's all about now, how do you creatively use, you know, some objects mundane, right? Obviously some objects very helpful, guns and stuff being on the top of that list. But being able to, you know, find a creative way to use all of this stuff always excited my imagination as a kid. And like, it actually probably bled into ZombieCon a little bit because I was like, well, they would have, you know, the swords and stuff. That is probably heavily influenced in a way from Dawn of the Dead, which, yeah, it's just an exciting concept. And to pull it off, which was also like for a low budget movie, insane because you have an entire mall and all this stuff. Who gets to do this? This is so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to me, like, it was always funny, like the mall aspect of it, kind of getting at the same thing that Shaun of the Dead does with the just going through life and going through the motions. It's like George did it to begin with like people are just going through the motions of going to the mall, buying and purchasing, and then going home. But it's all like it all doesn't lead to anything, doesn't lead to life. It just leads to death or whatever whatever you kind of want to spin on, like what he's saying. He's commenting on us as a society just getting stuck into that routine of this is what we do. We consume, we consume, we consume, we consume. And does that really give us the meaning of life that we want it to? So that's always kind of how I've taken that Dawn of the Dead as even if it might have been just a small social commentary in there, it's there enough that it intrigues me. So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with unfortunately malls kind of, dying off themselves in a large way because of Amazon and retail merchants online. I mean, it might be an opportunity for any filmmakers out there. Find a mall,
Yeah.
Do your own version.
Yeah. Well, they did it. What came to mind was with The Last of Us. They had that one episode where they went to a mall and like tried to get out, right? I think there was maybe it wasn't Last of Us. Maybe it was another.
I think
No, I
that
think
sounds
Last of
like
Us.
it.
Yeah. There was one episode that the two girls went to a mall and they were like trying to figure out how to get out of there or whatever. So yeah, it's good. Good stuff.
Yeah, malls are always fun. I was just in the car the other day. I was playing Extreme Play With Me from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and like when that mall scene when like Genghis Khan and Joan of Arc, like I don't know, they've done a lot of cool things in movies with malls. The fact that there's like a zombie apocalypse inside them and you're trapped in the mall is pretty fun to think about. Actually, it's a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. All right, so that was your number one, Josh. So we're to my number one, and it was on quite a few lists. I think it was on everybody's list, and this is Train to Busan.
Oh, so
Train
good.
to Busan. I'll share a little bit, but I know Josh, you got all the great stats and stuff. So I'm just gonna. I think for me, it was just it kind of felt a little bit like a Snowpiercer type thing where they're trying to survive, but you've got all of this other stuff going on, and you're trapped in the train cars trying to get through and trying to survive. It just added a different layer to it because you're not in a house or you're not in a static location or trying to move locations in the world. You're actually trapped even deeper into these smaller areas. So great emotional finale as well. As a father has to do something to save his kids and all that stuff. So that it always stuck out to me, and I had it highly rated when I saw it the first time. So it ends up being number one on my list because I think it's the zombie movie I've ranked the highest as far as my stars go. So I gave it 5 stars after seeing it.
Nice.
So it's just like it just was like so impactful to me at the time. So
Kyle, did you have that on your list?
Yeah,
too?
I did. I had it at number 3. But
Nice.
again, anytime you're ranking films like this, even on a top 5 list, it's like, put a gun to my head and I might say something different. Like I'm not going to necessarily remember it because Train to Busan is, one of those top tier zombie movies that, so unique, right? I love the Snowpiercer reference. I totally agree with that. Like just having kind of, a connected space, but with a separation. So you've got kind of this unique element of danger, safety, and then again that creativity of how you're going to use the space and the available materials. The zombies are so fierce and tenacious. They almost make the 28 days later, zombies seem a little bit slow and weak in comparison. I mean, and they are kind of, again, going back to the World War Z, it's their massive weight, which you get in a lot of zombie movies, but you really see it in this condensed corridor, right? Where they're all coming at the door, they're breaking through, especially that last kind of heroic standoff with the muscular guy who's got the newspapers taped onto his he's got the magazines taped to his arm and he's holding the door there and he's got his wife back there, his pregnant wife, and he's going to sacrifice himself, but even as these zombies come through the door he's holding them off. And it was after this whole adventure, the emotional peaks are incredible. The acting is fantastic. The idea is unique. The zombies are terrifying. And it's like perfectly executed on all fronts. And it also has like some awesome little things that you wouldn't like. I don't know how they got there creatively, like especially when they get trapped underneath the train car after the collision. Right.
Yes.
And then all the zombies are on the glass and it just explodes through, like a tidal wave of basically flesh, forcing them out. And it's just like, that was so cool. I could 100% see that happening. At the same time, what creative genius was like, we should do this here. So I'm like, that is an awesome twist.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Josh, what do you got about?
Yeah, that one, so Kyle earlier had One Cut of the Dead, which was the highest rated Rotten Tomatoes zombie flick. Train to Busan is the number 2. It's actually tied with Night of the Living Dead with a 95%. So yeah, don't just take our word for it. It's a great film. So all the director, Yoon Sang-ho, all his movies before this were all animated, which I thought was interesting because you know, it's a lot to take on a movie, let alone a zombie flick. And so I thought that was pretty cool that like his first live action was, you know, one of the best zombie films that's ever been made. So it's the sixth highest grossing domestic film all time in South Korea. Edgar Wright, who we just talked about earlier, he praised it as the best zombie movie he had ever seen in forever. That was his exact quote.
Wow.
It's the highest grossing Korean film in Malaysia, Hong Kong, and Singapore. There was actually another zombie film on a train that came out in the 70s. In 1972, there's a movie called Horror Express, and that dealt with zombies. But yeah, I think the whole feeling, kind of like we just talked about the mall and Dawn of the Dead, like not only is it it's technically a character in the movie, but like we already feel kind of uneasy sometimes in like a small space like a train. So like the feeling of being trapped on a train, nowhere to go, and you're being overrun by zombies is solid for a horror film, but like it's anxiety inducing, at least for me. I mean, that'd be crazy, but the one of the main actresses in the movie, she played Jin Hee. Her name's Sohee. It was actually in a K-pop group called the Wonder Girls. So she's like a K-pop of K-pop fame, and she was in this movie. And then to go back to what Kyle said, like, or maybe I can't remember which of you said it, but the emotional, like, especially the last, you know, act of the movie, the emotional aspect is so well crafted. And there's just genuine performances. Being a parent, which, you know, all three of us are, it's, you know, it's a scary thing enough to go day to day with, you know, what's going on in the world, or, you know, what the future holds for our kids and for ourselves. So as like a zombie apocalypse on a train, and what would you do in that instance, is pretty crazy. So the main goal is protecting your child over protecting yourself, obviously. So it's just a solid movie, very, very well made. I remember hearing about this towards the end of the video store days, and then we got the Blu-ray in, and I hadn't seen the movie yet, but I heard so many good things about it, so I just went ahead and bought it, and I watched it probably 2 or 3 times in that first month that I owned it, and it's just still such a solid film. So it was my number 2, but I know it's high on a lot of people's lists. So I'm glad it made it in our podcast. So,
and going back to the social commentary we were talking about in previous films, this one, it does it so perfectly, where you've got the kind of conductor guy who's the boss on the train, kind of fencing with our executive from the investment group, who's like kind of our main character there, and how he does this whole emotional kind of circle where he kind of learns, culminating or crescendoing in that final emotional moment with his daughter, and how the kind of boss of the train goes in the complete opposite direction. He crescendos by crashing out and, you know, sacrificing his number 2 in order to try to get ahead, ultimately leading to him becoming like our main bad guy, for lack of a better kind of, you know, our main antagonist, for lack of a better kind of word. It's kind of weird in a zombie movie to have a main antagonist.
Right, another, yeah.
But he kind of serves as like the guy who's undermining everything the entire time and using that power for, you know, that authority, which is just, I thought that was a very interesting tie-up to see the social dynamic between the two of them and the way they kind of worked that whole thing out. I thought it was pretty smart.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, cool. That is all of our lists. And we have a really fun combined top 5. So what we do is I took the 5 lists. I looked at what was on each list, how many lists it was on, what it was ranked, and we've got a fun top 5. Are you ready to hear it? All right.
Yes. Let's go.
With our number 5 being on one list, and at number 1 is ZombieCon Volume 1. So ZombieCon made it on our top 5, the combined top 5.
Yeah.
Awesome. At number 4, we've got on 2 lists, and the highest rank was number 1, and that is Dawn of the Dead, 1978. At number 3, it's on 3 lists, and the highest rank was number 2. That is Shaun of the Dead. And then at number 2, we've got on 3 lists, and the highest rank was number 1. That's 28 Days Later. And at number 1, being on all 4 lists, and the highest rank being 1, is Train to Busan. So
nice.
that's a pretty solid top 5.
That's a pretty amazing one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was very hard. Like I went back and I went through I went through the Rotten Tomatoes list, and I was like, okay, I really love this one. I really like this one. But what does this one offer over the yeah, it was a hard list. So that's pretty impressive that's the top 5.
And I wanted to just throw out one honorable mention. I know we've talked about a lot of movies, but this one came to mind even while we were doing the podcast, and that's Maggie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Abigail Breslin. Very unique take when you're talking about it came up when you were kind of talking about parents and kids, and what would a parent do if they found out their child had been bitten, and like how long would you wait, all that stuff. And that movie does that brilliantly, in a very small, compact format. Just such a beautiful movie, and it's also showing Arnold's kind of softer side. It was after he had been governor. He was kind of coming back into films, and it was like, let's deal with it. It does have a little bit of that kind of, he has to be strong, but he also has to be emotionally strong and be a father figure to this girl. And if it's just really, really great movie. So throwing that out there for all of you that maybe if you haven't heard of it or haven't seen it, it's worth a watch. So
yeah, there's some good I had a lot of honorable mentions, but there's some more comedic fun ones, like Fido, which is it stars Carrie-Anne Moss from The Matrix, and they have zombies as pets, so they're chained up in their front yards, and it's just a funny one. There was a really good one on Netflix a couple years ago called Alive, or maybe #Alive, and 2020 it came out. But yeah, it's really highly ranked. That was they're in an apartment complex and just trying to survive the apocalypse in their apartment building, which is pretty nuts. They had Night of the Comets is a popular one from the 80s. There's just a lot of ones. So for that to be our top 5 is pretty incredible. So
yeah, and I'd like to throw out there for an honorable mention the remake of Dawn of the Dead by Snyder.
Nice. That is so good.
It really it is a remake, but it's also so original in so many ways, and some of the character stories, just the whole sniper in the house across the street communicating, cue cards or what they're using. Yeah. It's so brilliant. It's fantastic.
Well, that's one of our first introductions to Ty Sheridan, who became, he's a fan favorite on Modern Family. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
to see.
He was the asshole agent.
Yeah, he's an agent, completely different character.
I'm the captain of the boat. Why are you the captain? Because it's my boat. Just walking around with his little keys with the little floaty keychain, wagging in everyone's faces.
Well, in that movie, another good honorable mention, more of a comedy, just so well made, is Zombieland. I think the remake of 28 Days Later, Dawn of the Dead, and then the Zombieland. Both of those are very similar, just because the direction and how they were they're not just thrown together. There's some really cool shots. There's some great performances. There's fun. Zombieland has one of maybe the greatest cameos of all time with Bill Murray.
Yeah.
But it's just there's fun stuff, but yeah, like the Dawn of the Dead remake, I mean, obviously launched Zack Snyder's career. He kind of had a similar start like Fincher, like he worked on a lot of music videos, stuff like that, and then was offered this opportunity. And I mean, he didn't disappoint. That I remember my brother hadn't seen the original Dawn of the Dead, and we went and saw the remake, and he was like, man, and so he bought the Blu-ray and when it came out, and he really likes that one. And I was like, you need to go back and watch the original too. But yeah, Snyder did awesome job with his remake. So
yeah, and we also get a little bit of like my favorite part in the zombie kind of lore is the mashed up vehicle, like your kind of zombie. I call them like the zombie war buses.
yeah,
And, you get kind of like the one of those in there too, which is great.
Right?
So
yeah.
I think
fun.
What's the zombie movie where we've got like the intelligent zombie and we've got the all the humans are living in that tall office building. It's a newer one.
Oh, with I know which one you're talking about.
I'm sorry, I'm blanking.
No,
on
you're
the
fine.
name.
You're fine.
No, I have it in my head and I cannot. I'm
I
drawing
can
a blank
see
too.
the art from the DVD. It's like the security guard is standing like behind the fence with his hand on the fence. Is it Land of the Dead? Land of the Dead?
Oh, it might be Land of the Dead. Yeah, with the posters, like a hand ripped off on a fence. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that's one of them.
The one guy's like walking through the water and leads them through under the water, right? Yep,
exactly.
That's Land of the Dead.
Yeah, Land of the Dead. Yeah.
I love that movie. That is another one that it's, an exciting new take. And you also get like probably the most badass zombie war bus to date.
Yeah.
Right. In that one where it's like you got the full on chainsaws coming out the side. Like it's got like, I mean, it was really done up well. And you've got that whole kind of elite team of zombie survivors who go out to like forage for, gas and food and whatever they can find. And they've kind of built up a whole kind of faux government / society in this office building, which is just another social commentary thing where you've got like class levels that have been built up within the apocalypse of like, who owned apartments initially and then people who were kind of survivors who gathered around it, almost creating like a modern day equivalent of a medieval castle and, difference. Like, are you in the keep? Are you in the castle? Are you in the farmlands? Where are you at? And that kind of determines your social placement. And that's another one that I always really enjoyed.
Yeah, Dario Argento's daughter is actually an actress in that movie. Asia Argento. She's like the main her name's Slack, so she's like the main actress. Yeah, great cast. I mean, Dennis Hopper, John Leguizamo. Lots of
one last question
actors.
I've got for you, Kyle, because I think when you brought up like the society post-apocalypse, Walking Dead comes to mind because you get later in the seasons and they've got the different territories that they're trying to say we're going to try and live peacefully together, because in Walking Dead, the thing you're fearing more than the zombies is the other humans, because everybody's trying to survive on their own. And then they're finally finding some peace by forming groups together, but then those groups end up getting overtaken by other groups. And you get to like season 7 or 8 and you're now, or maybe 9 or 10, and you're like getting to the point where it's like, okay, we've got to sign a contract. We've got to get things, we got to keep peace amongst these different territories, otherwise we're just going to keep killing each other. So I just wanted to taking your like post-apocalyptic, we have to have some sort of government, like what is your take on how they've done it in Walking Dead?
I mean, it's super accurate. Like, I think that anytime you have people competing for a limited number of resources, you're going to have conflict. You add in, right, the extra threat of the zombie, which makes every resource more difficult to attain. And once you start building any kind of groups, like you see this across human civilization, which is again why I think it's so realistic. Like if you look back at Native American tribes in the United States and the way that they were very similar in that respect, they would build up larger societies. They would, their territory would expand in terms of collection of resources to someone else's society, and there weren't defined states or geographical regions that were kind of understood. But as soon as you have that crossover happen enough, you have a conflict that inevitably breaks out. And usually, it's kind of like, well, we both want the same thing. We both need the same thing. And one gets wiped out, the other expands. And that happens until you have two forces of such overwhelming size that conflict would result in basically the destruction of everything or all the resources. And then you have some sort of negotiation that's mediated. And so I think it's drawing off human history. You could see that in medieval and feudal Europe, in China, Asia. Like it's happened throughout the entire world for the whole of humans, civilization existence. So
yeah,
I love how that's kind of baked in, and I'm waiting for that one zombie movie that finds a very human way to solve the problem without bloodshed. Like I would like to see a zombie movie where you have people that are all about survival, but find the creative solution to avoid bloodshed with other people. Like, because you always see like these kind of despots get into these positions of power, and they are what create the conflict. And it'd be nice to see, reasonable people get into the positions of power where it's like, instead of, I'm going to kill you for your stuff, it's like, you've got this stuff, we've got this stuff. We can barter and trade. We'll be better off together instead of hitting each other and exhausting resources.
Yeah, I think where you'd have to have some sort of antagonist, because people would be like, there's no conflict. Where's the fun in this movie? I want to see some people get killed,
Yeah, I know. It's very anti.
But I like your idea, and maybe that can be one that you can work on, after ZombieCon Volume 20.
Well, I've actually a little plug for ZombieCon Volume 2. There might be a little bit of that. Now, see, the thing is, if the humans are peaceful and working together, it just means the zombies have to be all the more terrifying. So,
and they can actually be. No, that's a great call, because they can actually be the antagonist for once. It seems like that a lot of like I mentioned, The Walking Dead, it jumps to my mind because I remember first watching that first season and going, wow, the zombies really aren't the bad guys. They're a nuisance, but they're not the ones that we need to be scared of as much as we need to be scared of that other human over there that we can't trust because we don't know who they are. And it's like all of that kind of fear of the other, even though the other looks just like us, but it's like it highlights for us how we unfortunately tribalize ourselves, like you mentioned, throughout history. We don't trust anybody that doesn't look like us, that isn't a part of our group. And so our immediate fear is they could hurt us. That's their first thought, as opposed to, hey, they could help us. They could work with us. So anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of animalistic. It's kind of animalistic in that way, right? Because it's like you go to a chipmunk or a squirrel and it runs away from you. You could be wanting to give it food, but it doesn't know any better. So it's kind of waiting for humans to get to that more kind of, advanced, whatever that word would actually mean, mental area where your first choice isn't like an instinctual survival response. It's more of a kind of intellectual, communication response. Which again, I feel like getting this is zeroing in this much on a zombie movie. It also strips a lot of what creates the peril in the first place. It's like those mistakes and those kind of jumping to the survival instinct, the train conductor on Busan, the guy who, pushes his second part. It's what makes the zombie movies fun. It adds that element of chaos and unexpected, just, craziness to the mix, and you never know exactly what's going to happen or who's going to snap. And all these people are under significant amounts of pressure. I mean, I'm under a significant amount of pressure when my power goes out or the internet goes down. So
exactly. Well, awesome, guys. Thank you so much again, Kyle and Erin.
Yes.
Who's not with us at this moment, but thank you all so much for joining. This has been such a pleasure again to have a fun conversation about film with you all. And Josh, thanks for co-hosting with me. This has been a lot of fun. So you got anything going on you want to mention? This is going to air, thinking of you, Kyle, it's going to be airing in January, like the third week of January. I don't know if there's anything that you can kind of promote around that time, or just
no
whatever you want to say.
Fun to be here. Yeah. You can follow us on all the social medias at ZombieCon Movie, and all the links to the movie, the DVD, and the book. And I'm sure we'll have a bunch of other stuff coming out over the Christmas season is at ZombieCon VOL1.com. So thank you guys so much for having
Great
us.
gifts.
I'm sorry that Erin had to
No, it's all
take on
good.
you, but we appreciate you guys so much, and everything that, just having the friendship, being able to talk to you guys and get to know you guys over the last, I don't know how long it's been now. It feels like we've known you forever, but just
right.
much love to you guys and your families, and wishing you guys a fantastic holiday season. I'm sure we'll be talking in the interim, but
Sure.
it's great to see
absolutely.
you guys.
You too. Thanks so much, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Again, you can check out all of our links at bio.site/moviesthatmakeyou. Feel free to drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time, keep watching movies.